This is my first YouTube video in years. Hi, I'm Lindsay, and I want to talk about dreams. I've been having nuts, absolutely trippy, prophetic dreams since I was a kid. It's been going on for 25 years, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of things about the state of the world right now that are helping me put the pieces together of what I've seen in my dreams, what I've learned in my research, and in my absolutely stressful, chaotic past year, 2020. I'd say it's been the year of the most spiritual growth for me out of my whole life, probably. And I've learned a lot. And finally, things from my dreams are I'm starting to see how they fit in with the world as it is, or as it was, or as it will be. I'm not really sure yet, but anyways, so I've got some weird ones. I'm just gonna go kind of list them out in order. These are my most influential dreams. So, first off, I'm walking by myself in a ruined civilization. It's a coastal city, a flat city, very near to the water level. The entire city is composed of sandstone buildings that are all sort of interconnected in this courtyard-like labyrinthine layout. And the main structure of the whole place is this enormous dome, a domed building, also made of sandstone. And you can see the dome of it just popping out against the sky. And the sky is white and drenched in this harsh light that also seems to have something of a haze to it, like as if the light's coming through an atmosphere that's kind of dusty. And this city, this place, is completely abandoned with no signs of human life or animal life or anything. Except for, I think I saw a rusty old bicycle laying in one of the corridors. So I'm walking along these paths and these courtyards, and even as a kid I was really aware that I wasn't just anywhere. This wasn't just a dream. I was visiting a place in time, and I can't tell you when in time it was. But I always had the distinct impression that it was following some sort of cataclysm that wiped out all life, and had sort of preserved this city as a time capsule. I had that dream many, many times in my youth, and every time it was pretty much the same. I was walking by myself and just exploring, going down these passages, trying to understand why I was there and what I was looking for, trying to figure out what had happened to this city. And this theme of urban exploration would pop up again and again and again in my life, in my dreams. Probably the next big one was in an environment sort of like the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, where I've never been, but I know what it looks like, sort of. And I'm walking along a road high in the hills, and the road is sort of following the the ebbs and flows of the hills and valleys. Again, I'm completely alone. There's no humanity anywhere in sight. The road has undergrowth coming up through the stones and the pavement. Just this green vegetation poking through out of every nook and cranny, and all around. If it were a city at some point, it was unrecognizable as such, and just complete vegetation everywhere. I'm walking along this road, and as I come up over the rise of a hill, my perspective changes a little bit, and I can see off in the distance the most massive red brick building. I always thought it was like a factory or something. That's the sort of thing it looked like, and just massive, maybe like five or 10 times the size of the Merchandise Mart in Chicago, which is where I'm from. And I just saw this red building just rising out of the mountain, completely surrounded by jungle. And it was so big that even though I was probably a few miles away from it, I could see that intense red of the brick standing out beside the green jungle, and I could see all of the architectural features of the building, all of the details, and again, I had the impression that I was in a place, viewing a place where there was no human life whatsoever. I think I kept walking and eventually came to some sort of like a T intersection where there's a road coming up to right where I was. And there was one building that was probably like a bar or a diner or something. There was no one there. There was no activity at all. And just everything overgrown, completely untouched by humankind, and just left for nature to run its course. Here's one that really freaks me out. The environment might have been New Orleans, or it might have been Chicago. It's kind of hard to say. But I'm going along down a tram, and I've never been on a tram before. Now, this is an old dream. This is like 20-year-old dream here. And as we're going along this tram, there are other people, and they're all sort of wearing dark colored drab clothing. There's women and children and men, and they're just sitting on the tram. And as I'm looking out the window, I see these grand homes lining the boulevard. So we've got sort of this very, very broad street with grand homes on either side, and then in the middle there's a patch of grass, I guess, and in the center of that is this tram and tracks going down the middle of the boulevard. And I'm sort of like looking at the window like, And as I'm looking at these homes, I realize that all of them are damp up to about the first floor. They all have mold and what looks like algae. They're all sort of green and like it's been sitting in a hot climate in the wet for maybe a couple decades. So all of these beautiful grand homes are in varying states of decrepitude, but they're all damp and they're all moldering and mossy and growing stuff. They've probably been overrun by who knows what, all sorts of stuff. So this is odd, but in my dream it's not really odd because I'm not worried about those places because that's not where I'm going. I'm staying on the tram. And as it goes on and on and on, we approach some coastal area, or what looks like a coastal area because there's water deep water. But it's water in the midst of a city. There are buildings all around. The streets are more than just flooded. The streets are sunken. So we're going along on the tram, and soon it becomes clear that the tram is going to be following the topography of the city, and it's going down. It's following the track. One second. And the people on the track are starting to sort of realize, like, this isn't so great to be on a tram in the middle of a sinking city. But the tram follows the tracks down, following these poles in the road. And the tram starts to dip below the water level about halfway, and the car fills with water. And still the tram continues along the track, even though it's partially underwater now. And the people on the tram sort of start to panic a little bit, or wonder what they should be doing. They're sort of thinking, is this okay? Is it okay for us to stay on here? Is it going to get deeper? Or maybe we should just stay in our seats? But soon the car is so full of water that it's not really possible to sit anymore, and it starts getting really scary and weird and uncomfortable. And at that point, everyone on the tram puts on life preservers, I guess. And the conductor sort of takes this rope that's affixed to the front of the tram, and he kind of ties it off onto something, and we realize that the only way that we can continue on toward our destination is to get out and one by one sort of shuffle along this rope, sort of like hanging on and pulling ourselves. Can't even touch the bottom anymore. So just inching along there. I'm not sure if this one came next. Maybe it was around the same time. In my native city of Chicago, there's a neighborhood called Logan Square, which is where 3 or 4 major boulevards intersect. And this is a very grand area of the city, really broadly spaced boulevards with grand stone mansions on either side. Really, really grand architecture that we just don't really see anymore. And in real life, in Chicago, where these boulevards meet, there's like a big park sort of thing in the center with a giant plinth and a giant fucking obelisk just chilling. It's like 100-foot tall obelisk in the middle of the street, and on the very, very tippy top, I'm pretty sure it's an eagle with its wings open. I grew up only a couple blocks away from that, so that's like one of my foundational memories, I guess, as a little kid. I was driving past this little avenue or boulevard and seeing this giant thing, and I'm like, what is this? Like ancient Rome? It didn't seem like. It seemed just like way grander than necessary for a street to have this giant monument. Just chilling. I could tell you later what the monument is supposedly for, but so in my dream, I'm in this area. I just got off the Blue Line train, which we call the L because it's elevated. But there are parts of the L that are below ground, like a subway, but we still call it the L. So I'm getting off the Blue Line at Logan Square. I step off the train. I see this monument, and I know very clearly that I have to get to this building right there, overlooking this park and this monument. And these are all grand stone buildings, and I go into one up to maybe the 3rd floor. so I've got a very good view of the whole area. And in this old building, there's a very high-tech sort of museum display set up. There's like these kiosks, sort of, or these little exhibits. Like on one, it'll be like a diorama sort of depicting the water tables of the Chicagoland area. And on another one, there's like a laser hologram projection showing the topography of the region. And in this building, there were throngs of little kids there, like, ooh, ooh, looking at the various displays and learning about stuff. And there was like a few teachers. So I had the impression that this was a place to come to learn about the history of the area. Not just history like, such and such thing happened in this date. This was like a place for learning about the physical, geographical history of the area. That was weird. And looking out of the windows, you see all of this grandeur laid out before you. It's just, the scale of it is just really mind-boggling. Similar to that, there's another dream where I'm probably in like the French Quarter or something down in Louisiana. I've never been to Louisiana, but that's what I felt like it was. And I'm lost in the city, and I don't have a car, and I'm just hoofing it. Hang on 1 second, there's the baby. Sorry about that. I completely lost my train of thought, but I think I was talking about the New Orleans dream. So I'm hoofing it along the road. There's these giant fuck-off buildings everywhere, and the scale this time is really shocking. We've got these giant glittering white buildings in the Greco-Roman style with these big columns, and many of the buildings on the corners, they have these like cylindrical corner pieces where you can see that there's like glass elevators, and you can tell that if you were to ride one of the elevators, you would be able to see all around you. It's sort of a 360-degree view. And also on the streets, there were these enormous lampposts. Oh, gosh. To imagine what a lamppost like that would have looked like illuminated back in the day is just, it must have been beautiful. So there were these giant wrought iron pillars with like candelabra type arms coming out, and on the end of each candelabra there's an enormous globe. And when I mean big globes, on each of these arms of these lights, like each globe is probably like the size of a car, and really, really huge scale. Again, no one is around this time, and I'm just walking through, just sort of gobsmacked at being in yet another ancient city surrounded by all of this architecture. And my whole life I've been drawn to studying architecture and trying to wrap my head around it, because there's a lot of inconsistencies in the historical narrative about where these cities, when these cities sort of sprang up out of the mud. It's just always fascinated me, even when I was a much younger person. I knew that there was something really, really mysterious about this place that we find ourselves in. So I'm walking along, and I come to this beautiful park, and there's tunnels going under stone bridges, and so many different avenues to explore, but I feel like I'm being drawn in one direction. And as I continue on, I can hear like the saxophone music coming from somewhere, and I just know that I have to go through a tunnel in order to get closer to it so I can see who's playing. And hear the music better. So I continue on and continue on. The music gets louder and more soulful. And then, of course, right when I'm about to see the source of the music and, figure out what's going on, that's right when I wake up. They always do that to you. Here's a... Hang on, my dog is keening. Hang on. Okay, so another one. Must be Paris. Paris or some place like Paris. Some Western European city. On this day, in this dream, the place is very, very crowded. The streets are teeming with hundreds of people going about their business. And cars just racing past. Very cosmopolitan, very crowded. And there's this giant civic building which looks very much like the Chicago Field Museum. Again, on this inhuman scale. This massive building, except here we have in the middle of a Paris street or something, or a Chicago street of the future or the past. This building is an aquarium, and one entire city block long. And along this one side of the street where I'm walking, there is an enormous pane of glass. Behind the pane of glass is probably the single largest... Oh gosh, now all these other dreams are coming back to me. It's just... There have been so many themes, but really the same thing. Anyways, so there's this enormous pane of glass, and behind it is water. It's a giant tank. And as I'm walking down the street across from this structure with the world's largest tank, I can see through the depths of the water behind the glass the shadow of the largest land creature, the blue whale. There's a blue whale being kept in this aquarium. Almost as if it's like an advertisement for whatever kind of museum this is, whatever the aquarium is. And this one really disturbed me and fascinated me because, gosh, when you think of mankind's arrogance and disconnect from nature, I don't think it could be embodied any more clearly than in attempting to keep a blue whale as an exhibit at an aquarium. Because even though the tank was like a block long and probably 40 or 50 feet high, that's like nothing for the blue whale. And you can imagine that he or she would have been not too comfy in there. So that just made me sad. But what I was seeing was the scale of the civilization that could accommodate a structure like that and just be like, oh yeah, that's the blue whale in the tank. Next up is probably the one that's occurred for me most consistently throughout my entire life. I know this place like the back of my hand. This is Chicago of the future past? Past future? And there was a video that Martin had shared where he had an etching or something showing a hypothetical future city where there's these really tall highway structures on these long, like, spindly pylons going along. There's these long stretches of highway in the sky. And that's the case here. So I don't know if it's that the topography of Chicago has just changed a great deal, but in my dream. But there's highways in the sky, and the land of Chicago has also changed. there's like mountains, not mountains, but hills, almost as like if you had taken regular flat Chicago and if some force from underground of a giant circular shape had just, like a cone shape, had just lifted up underneath the city, just lifted up, and this flat city just adapted however it could and became a mountain. And after that happened, builders came and sort of refitted the city with roads that are on the most insanely steeped hills, and the whole city is like this sort of spiral shape, almost like a giant conch shell. You know how like with a seashell, if you look at the top of it, it's sort of got these like diminishing peaks or ramps. It's like a big ramp, sort of. And so that's like what's happened to normal Chicago in my dream. But not only that, some ambitious real estate developer, I guess, has also decided to build out into Lake Michigan. Now, if you don't know Chicago, it's on Lake Michigan, which from the ground appears to be an ocean. That's how big it is. You can't see the edges of it. So in my dream, someone had built out in the lake, maybe a couple miles out into the lake, like a Chicago downtown part 2, except out there in the lake, the skyscrapers, instead of being 100 stories tall, they're like thousands of stories tall, like really, really big. And these highways over in the normal Chicago area extend on these pylons endlessly, and they go right into the lake. I got so many kids that keep on bursting into my bedroom while I'm trying to record videos. Anyway, so these highways are extending out into the lake, and the buildings that have been built in the middle of the lake are so massive that the highways from the city coming out across the lake go right through the biggest buildings. Like the biggest building has like an opening where the highway can pass through it. And coming upon this structure in the middle of the lake, I'm aware of the blinding sunlight reflecting off of these brass and glass structures, and it's just so beautiful, but also horrifying, because you realize, or you wonder, when am I? Because it's perfectly possible. It is. On this scale, it's just, it seems like the future because it's so futuristic, but it also seems like the past because whoever built these things was not us, if that makes sense. Like, there's no way that, ooh boy, here comes a baby! Anywho, where was I? Oh yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so there's these giant structures in the middle of the lake, and the weird cone-shaped city with highways extending into the lake passes through the opening in these giant structures, and then continues on, probably to northwest Indiana, which in real life currently is just a bunch of heavy industrial factories, casinos, and fireworks warehouses and stuff like that. But in my dream, all of Chicago had grown into this super city stretching all the way along the lake, into the lake, into northwest Indiana, and everywhere in between. And every bit of coastline was filled with these giant megalithic resorts, hotels. I'm not sure. This landscape, this cityscape, I have visited hundreds of times over the past years. It's a place that's so vivid to me. Oh gosh, and the damn hills in the city part, I'll be trying to drive up a hill or something, and then, I'm revving it and giving the engine all she's got. I'm going like, like driving up this hill, and then about halfway up the hill, it starts to like sputter, and it goes, ooh, and you start to slide back a little bit. I'm like, no! And I gotta floor the gas to have any hope of living and not falling backward to my death. Ooh! So there are many incarnations of this dream, many different versions of it. I feel like I've explored this cityscape hundreds of different times from every different angle. And I know it pretty well. The areas along the coastline where the hotels are have all been sort of built out so that it's like this, almost like a seaside resort. Like I go and stay at one of these 500-story tall hotels, and I go to check in, like you do in dreams. You just show up there. I've got my bags all ready, and the person who checks me in is like, yes, very good, Miss Ashcroft Mills, your room, you're on the 500th floor, and your room's 69, go find your room. Or whatever it is. But then when I go to get in the elevator, I can't remember what floor I'm on. And there's no one who can help me because all the patrons and all the workers, they're all rushing around, busy with whatever they're doing. And I have no way of reaching anyone, so I spend the dream riding the elevator up and down, getting off at each floor and sort of looking around. Oh, is this the place where I'm supposed to be? And from the elevator, the glass elevator, I can see, and the elevator, when you go down, it falls in free fall. When you go up, it shoots up like a rocket, or like a slingshot, sort of. And even in the dream, you can feel that sick knot in your stomach. That feeling in the pit of your stomach of just like when you change position too quickly. And in one incarnation of this dream, I found my destination, which is in the penthouse, and there's some sort of wedding or party or quinceañera going on, or some big event. And as I get to the top, I see that there's a huge storm coming, and there's nowhere to go. But when I say huge storm, you can see the wave coming, and the wave is as tall as the sky. There's nowhere to run. So everyone in the hotel goes to the deck sort of area on top of the building and just waits for this big black wall of water as big as the sky, as wide as the horizon. And it just comes and envelops everything. And I've had dreams about the aftermath of that wave too, that I can talk about later. But, the level of detail that has stuck with me over all these years. Makes me think that there's something to this, and I don't know what exactly, but let's see. Talk about that. See how I'm doing time. I've got a new software that I'm trying out, and this is a very, very old laptop, and I've been interrupted like a bajillion times by little ones. But that's okay, because this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. Yeah, those are some of the big ones that stand out for me. But I feel like each of those is really just a setting for my dreams. It's not the whole dream. So I dream in like settings, I guess. And I have these adventures. But the common themes I see are architecture, nature, water, and technology. And I'm usually alone exploring. Sometimes there are other people, but I'm not really with them. I'm just next to them. So, anyways, this has been kind of fun, kind of frustrating. To people who do this all the time, mad props to you for doing this, because it takes a lot of patience. And then when things go wrong, it's very time consuming to have to go back and try to cover everything that you want to say. So I think I'm going to leave it here for now. There's a lot more to tell, and I'm enjoying being so active with my dreams. It's extremely empowering, even though I don't understand the meaning of everything that I see. My intuition tells me that the things I've seen mean something for our world, or at least for my place within this world. So yeah, if you like my ramblings, please let me know. If you think I just need to shut up, please don't tell me. I'm very sensitive. I'm working on that, but I don't really want to know if you think I suck and if you think I'm horrible. Just keep that to yourself. I've been through a lot of shit recently, and I'm just trying to share some cool dreams with people. Not a big deal. So, yeah. Please leave in the comments if you've had any trippy dreams, if you've had any dreams like mine, if you think you might be sharing one of the same dreamscapes that I've described. That would be cool. Could, meet up and play badminton in the street or something, and it might, break things up a little bit for me, instead of just wandering around aimlessly looking for answers, looking for clues and stuff, being all alone. I do like badminton, and I haven't had a chance to play for a while, so I've already described the place, so it should be very easy for you to find it if you like dream walking and stuff like that. I'm pretty new to any actual knowledge about this, but I do have a lot of experience dreaming vividly. So I look forward to spending the rest of my life, enjoying my sleep time as much as I do my waking time. And the challenges of deciphering meanings and sort of decoding what I'm seeing. And sorry, I have the hiccups. I try one more. hope wherever you are in the world, you have sweet dreams. And if they can't be sweet, may they at least be interesting and thought-provoking. So yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.